What's up, everyone? We are less than 3 days away from the premiere of Big Brother 22 and the excitement is absolutely palpable. I cannot wait myself, and I'm sure you guys are on the edge of your seats waiting for the show to start as well, because it's been so long since last year's. Obviously it's been a bit extended because of COVID-19, but we're finally getting something this Wednesday, and it's so amazing to be able to say that out loud. And you know what, I thought today, because of that, we'd celebrate by talking about the rumoured cast list, because it's starting to look really solid now. So we'll go through all the different cast members and talk about, you know, what we think their performance will be like in this season, and we'll talk a little bit about their previous game and how that's going to filter in to their performance in Big Brother 22. So we'll dive right in with our first house guest. So first on the rumoured cast list we have Bailey from Big Brother 20. Now Bailey didn't actually make it very far in the game. She was the first member of the jury and she placed 11th overall in her season. So you know, her performance wasn't atrocious, but it wasn't brilliant either. However, entertainment value, she was excellent, and I believe that's why she's been invited back for All Stars. So I think I've seen a lot of people saying that Bailey shouldn't be an All-Star, but for me, as I keep saying, you know, the basic CBS are trying to get people who are willing to say yes during a pandemic, so that's difficult. So I'd say at the end of the day, Bailey's a good catch that CBS have managed to get on to Big Brother 22. Obviously, we're not getting Swaggy, and I'm glad about that, because I would have rather have not seen Swaggy on this season. So at least you know, we're getting Bailey, whose entertainment value is quite high. Her and Tyler, who was also on the rumoured cast, argued quite a lot in their previous seasons, so I think it's going to be really exciting to see how they interact this time round. I do believe that they have definitely got some sort of deal going on, because I've seen on Instagram Angela and Swaggy have been interacting in a very polite and friendly manner, so I think they've definitely kissed and made up, and I think definitely going into the season they're going to have each other's backs, because a lot of people will be going, okay, they'll know that Tyler and Bailey have had this argument before, and they'll realise, you know, that's another situation that they could stir up in the house to get them to have another argument to put targets on their back. So I think they will have had to put their differences aside for them to make it further this time round. But for me, I think Bailey stands a great chance this time. Obviously, as I said, she came 11th last time. Bailey isn't really someone, as we've been talking about, that a lot of people consider an all-star. An all-star is considered to be someone, you know, who has brilliant strategy, has made it really far in the game, and also entertainment value. So that's why Bailey is there. But again, I've seen a lot of people saying they don't think she should be an all-star. But, you know, when Bailey's in the mix of people like Tyler, people like Ian Terry, people are going to be targeting the winners and the runners-up and the third places. Nobody's going to be targeting Bailey unless she starts drama in the house, and that's going to be the only downfall of her game. Who knows? She may come in this time and have great strategy, but we'll have to see. But for me, I do believe that Bailey's going to make it further this time round. Okay guys, so next on the list we have someone that a lot of you guys are not happy with, as I've seen in the comments and all over social media. It's Christmas, the third place contestant from Big Brother 19. Now Christmas is definitely not considered an all-star by many people in the Big Brother community. She broke her leg early in the season and then was pretty much dragged to the end because she was easy to control, or more specifically the whole cast was easy to control that time around, because Paul had everyone in his back pocket. And everyone did what Paul said, and that's how Paul made it to the end. But the downfall was that everyone realised that when they got to the jury house, and everyone voted for Josh to win. And a lot of people obviously don't like Josh, and a lot of people don't like Paul. Obviously, they seem to be out of this season now, so it looks like we're getting the third place instead of the first or second. We're getting Christmas. So Christmas, I think, similar to Bailey, I think she will make it far this time, because even though she made it far in the game, she wasn't seen as a threat because she broke her leg the whole time. People don't see her as a massive contender. So I think a lot of people will be underestimating Christmas when she goes in this time. I think she's going to dominate in physical comps, and her social game was good last time anyway. So I feel like she's going to expand on that even more. So with a mix of social and a good physical game as well, all she needs to do is develop a little bit of strategy going on, and she could make it really far in the game. Because as I said, similar to Bailey, nobody's going to be targeting someone like Christmas or Bailey when there's winners and runners-up in the game. So the first runner-up we have on this cast is Cody from BB16, and a lot of people discredit Cody quite a lot because, you know, they believe that Derek shouldn't have got all the credit that he deserved, and Cody deserved some of it as well. Obviously, Derek played an epic game, and you can't take that away from him, but I think Cody's got a lot to prove this time round, you know, because I think he's got that sort of reputation as being the person that Derek sort of dragged to the end. So I think this time, if he can get a foot out the door and make it through the first few weeks, he could go and take this thing. I think he could really go far in the game again. Otherwise, if everyone's just gunning for him week one, because, like, you know, as a runner-up, you're probably seen as a huge threat. And he did actually receive 2 votes to win. So he's definitely got game potential. And if people are choosing to target him in the first couple of weeks, he's not going to get that chance to get his foot in the door. And unfortunately, probably will be evicted pre-jury. I mean, For me, I'd like to see him make it far. I think he's got a hell of a lot of potential. Do I think he'll make it far? Unfortunately not. I think a lot of people will be targeting the likes of him and Tyler in week 1 because, you know, even though there's a couple of winners on the cast, people probably see Cody and Tyler as more threats because they played dominant games in their seasons. And the winners that we've got, a couple, maybe like you could say they sort of played dominant games, but probably not as dominant as these runner-ups who a lot of people consider robbed or, you know, didn't that they really deserved the win. Tyler's probably a case in point for that. Cody not so much, but again, as a runner-up, Cody has that sort of target on his back as the runner-up. It's like a name tag that'll sit with you, and it'll have a massive target on his back for him. So I do hope he makes it far, but unfortunately, I think he needs to be able to sort of make a few connections in the first couple of weeks, or he's going to be going out the door maybe week 1 or week 2. The next house guest we are going to discuss is Devon from BB17 and BB18. So Devon came in 16th place in Big Brother 17, and in Big Brother 18 she came in 11th place. Now Devon is remembered for her entertainment value more so than her game, and rightfully so. Devon has made a massive impact culturally on the game. You know, worldwide there's that famous gif now of Devon running out the door when she was evicted. So yeah, she's made a massive cultural impact on the game, and as well she's been on the challenge since she's been on Big Brother, so her physical game has probably skyrocketed to what it was on Big Brother. And also, similar to a couple of the folk I discussed at the start, Crispin and Bailey, people don't really consider her a threat because 1, she didn't make it very, very far in the game, and 2, she's sort of remembered for entertainment rather than gameplay, and people are willing to keep the entertaining house guests around because they don't really see them as a threat. I think Devon's going to have something new to bring to the game this time because people only really consider Devon the entertainment house guest. So I think a lot of people are going to underestimate her. I think she's going to bring some strategy, and I think she could make it far in the game as long as she doesn't get into too much drama. That is Devon's biggest downfall. If she starts arguments and gets into arguments with people, people are going to want to target her and get her out really, really early. If she lays low, you know, and keeps herself her entertainment and her drama quite low, I think she could make it further because she can be entertaining without starting drama, and I think she's got a lot of potential to still be really, really entertaining. But that is always Devon's biggest downfall, and if she doesn't get into an argument, I think she could make it really, really far in the game, and you know, I'd like to see it. Obviously there's some other house guests I am rooting for, but I think Devon has a hell of a lot of potential as long as she can you know, just keep all of her arguments at bay. The next house guest we are going to discuss is the runner-up of Big Brother 8. It's Danielle Donato. She received 2 votes to win against Evil Dick, who was her father, and they both also returned for BB13. However, Evil Dick did walk from the game in the first couple of days. However, Danielle did make it further into the game, made a good dent, and she came 8th place, which isn't too bad for a runner-up, which shows, even with a massive target on her back, Danielle knows how to make it far in the game. And I think, you know, I think she could do it again. I really do. She's definitely a favourite, and the fans really, really like her. So if there's any chance for America to vote in which they can give her some sort of power or some sort of twist, she stands a good chance of receiving it against other players who aren't so much fan favourites. And also, as well, she's a bit older now, so people may not see her as much of a threat. I don't necessarily think that's a fair assumption to sort of say just because they're older, they are not as much of a threat. However, that's what people see. You know, Cliff was the oldest house guest. However, he won several competitions, and you know, he ended up making the final 4, and he won the battle back. So you know, Cliff did great. So never underestimate the older house guest. However, saying that Danielle Donato is nowhere near as old as those, but still, it's going to be quite an old cast, and as well with her being old school, people probably won't target her as much, I don't think, because people might just think, you know, she hasn't played the game in a while, so maybe she doesn't know it as much as the others, but that's not the case. Danielle Donato knows the game, and she can go far, and I really hope she does, and I do think she will. But again, I think she's definitely got some good connections within the game pre-game. Not saying that she's made pre-game alliances or anything, but I think she's got good connections as like friendships outside the house. So I don't think anybody's going to be going on week 1, oh yeah, let's target Danielle Donato. I think there's a lot of other people to pick from before people will target Danny. David Alexander from Big Brother 21 is the next house guest we are going to discuss, and a lot of people consider him not an all-star. And same goes for me. I do not, as I expressed in my previous video, I don't consider him an all-star. However, I'm excited to see his game because he has a lot of potential. He was evicted in the first week, went to Camp Comeback, and didn't win the comeback comp. So he was removed from the game, obviously, and a lot of people were quite annoyed about that. And there was a lot of social media talk about that last year, and it's continued throughout the year as well, even being brought back up this year. A lot of people don't consider him an all-star, but people are excited to see what his game is going to bring this time round. just from interviews that he did with ET Canada, and also with the diary room before he went in. I'm pretty sure it was with Jeff Schroeder. He just showed that I think he had a lot of potential, and he was going to bring a hell of a lot of strategy to the game. So you know what? I think if they let him out the gates this time, which I think they will, I think he could take it. I really do, because I think he had a lot to bring that he didn't really get to show last time. However, this is a little thought that's been passing through my head. There was a woman on Survivor who was the first person who was evicted / eliminated from the game, and she returned for a future season, and everyone took her out first again, which I think could happen potentially to David, because if no one wants to ruffle feathers in the first week and just wants to take out someone who isn't really a threat, David is probably the perfect option for that, because people will go, okay, he's been evicted first once. It doesn't make any, it doesn't ruffle any feathers within the house if they take him out again. So I think that could potentially happen. I mean, it's a very slim chance, but if it doesn't again, I think he could make some great connections and make it far in the game. Nicole Anthony is also rumoured to be on the cast, who is also from Big Brother 21. So I think, you know, just because you're on the same season doesn't mean you work together. But I think David and Nicole did get along quite well. So I think they will definitely work together as an alliance. I think it will be a transparent alliance that a lot of the house will see. But, you know, I think they do need to work together, because I don't think David has that many connections. So I think Nicole's definitely going to be an ally of his. So we now have a house guest from Big Brother 12, and it's Enzo, who was a fan favourite. A lot of people really, really love Enzo. He is remembered for his nickname of Meow Meow. And he was also part of the famous Brigade Alliance, which is considered a great alliance in Big Brother history. And a lot of people just really, really loved his entertainment value. He made 3rd place. He was evicted by Hayden just before the finale. So he could have made it to the final 2, but obviously being evicted, his chance of facing the jury was cut short. And I think this time round, I think he's going to make it far again, because nobody's going to really view Enzo as a threat, I don't think. He's just going to continue entertaining everyone. I think he'll make a lot of connections with the old school folk. You know, I think we've got, like, in the old school alliances, we're going to have, I think there'll be sub alliances to the big old school alliance. For sure, they'll make an old school alliance. It's going to be Janelle, Keisha, Enzo, Daniel Donato. That's just a few to name, but you know, it's really, really exciting. I think he can make some good connections, and as well, because he's a bit of an older guy, similar to Daniel Donato being a bit of an older house guest, nobody's going to really think he's that much of a threat. So I think he could make it far, and I think America will also be rooting for him, similar to Daniel Donato. If there's a twist that's up for grabs or some sort of power that America has to vote for, Enzo does stand a good chance of receiving it. So I do think he's actually going to make it really, really far in the game, and you know, I do hope so. I think he's going to do well. Maybe not as well as last time, but you never know, honestly, because with Big Brother you got to expect the unexpected, and you never know what Enzo can pull off. The first winner we are going to discuss is Mr. Ian Terry, the winner of Big Brother 14. Now, Ian was definitely the underdog of the season. He was part of the Quack Pack Alliance, which is definitely a memorable alliance of Big Brother. And also, he beat out Dan Giesling in the final 2. And you've always got to remember, you know, the person who can beat Dan Giesling has obviously played a very, very impressive game. So I'm ecstatic to see Ian Terry come back. I don't know if he's got that many connections in the game, so I do think he's going to be a huge target, because the only other winner that's supposed to be in the game is Nicole Franzel. Obviously, with all the stuff that's going on the outside with Nicole Franzel, isn't going to filter into the game on the inside. So I think Ian Terry's going to have much more of a target on his back than Nicole Franzel will. So I hope that Ian actually makes out the gates, because otherwise I think he could be going very, very early. Let's hope he can make some good connections with folk. And knowing Ian, he plays a good game, so you never know what Ian can pull off. And he might just be able to make a couple of alliances that'll get him through the first few weeks, and then he can get the ball rolling and make it really, really far in the game. But as I said, he beat out Dan Giesling, who was considered one of the greatest players of all time. So a lot of people will probably feel quite threatened by Ian. And you know, if Dan Giesling was ever to go in, obviously it's looking like he's not going to be. Dan would obviously want redemption against Ian. But you know what? I think Ian's out for it this time. I think Ian's going to do great. Well, my fingers are crossed for it anyway. But again, they've got to let him get out the gates, or otherwise he's gonna go early. But my fingers are crossed for him to do well, and I think he's got a lot of potential again. And you know, being from Big Brother 14 as well, Janelle also was on that season, so I think he can definitely make that connection with Janelle, and that's an alliance there for it. And as well, Janelle's going to be a huge target, so I think huge targets banding together is what needs to happen for the huge targets to be able to make it further. So my hopes are up for Ian, and I really hope he does well this season. We talked about her briefly just there. It's a legend of Big Brother. It's Janelle. Janelle came 3rd place in Big Brother 6. She also came 3rd place in Big Brother 7. And then she returned for the Coach's Twist in BB14. And she came 12th place. Her poorest performance so far. However, I think that will stay as her poorest performance so far. I think she's going to perform a lot better in Big Brother 22. She is definitely an all-star. She deserves that spot there. She was in a first all-star. So she is one of two that is going to be returning from the first All-Star season, or it's looking that way anyway. And I'm really, really excited to see her play again. Janelle is a bit older now, so that target's slightly off her. But as a BB legend, the target gets put back on. So yeah, I think it's really, really exciting to see her play again. I think she's definitely got a lot of potential. But similar to a lot of these other house guests that I've been speaking to, they've got to let her get out of the gates to make a dent in the game to actually make it far. But then when you consider all these house guests who need to get out the gate, you know, it's only going to be one or two of them that are going to be stopped from getting out the gate. So these bigger targets that are going to get out the gate, so there's a lot of gate talk here, but Janelle, I think, could be one of them. I think Janelle could make it far. She's got a lot of connections in the Big Brother world. She's worked with Ian. Yeah, well, she's played with Ian before. She's played with Keisha, and I'm sure as well from like just being outside the game as well, she's made a lot of friends in other house guests, because being such a popular house guest, she's probably been at like several different sort of reality conventions and stuff like that where she's met other folk. So I think Janelle stands a good chance of making a great social game again this time around. And never underestimate Janelle when it comes to physical comps. Just because she's a bit older doesn't mean that she can't win comps. I think she's going to smash this game. I've got my fingers crossed for her, and I'm going to wish her the best of luck. And yeah, I can't wait to see her play again. Speaking of Janelle, we've got a very close ally of Janelle in both of her seasons. What up, Keisha? It's Keisha. Everyone loves Keisha. If you haven't seen Keisha from back in the day, you've got to watch the old seasons of Big Brother, because Keisha is a Big Brother legend. He didn't actually ever make jury, but America loved him. He was voted back in the game in Big Brother 6, and everyone really liked watching him in Big Brother 7. So I'm really excited to see Keisha play again. And what the crazy thing is the fact that there's always an old man spot on Big Brother, and it's crazy to think that Keisha is probably going to be the old man spot this time around, which is crazy to think. You know, we watched Keisha probably in his late 20s, early 30s back in the day. So to now, you know, watch him in his 40s as the old man of Big Brother is crazy to think. I do think he's going to make it far. But my worry is, could lightning strike 3 times? Because in Big Brother 6 he came 10th place. In Big Brother 7 he came 10th place. So is Big Brother 22 going to be the 3rd time he comes 10th place? I hope not. I hope he makes it further than 10th place. I'm really rooting for Keisha. He's a family man now. He was obviously before, but you know, he's got kids now. So he's going to be working to get that money for his kids and his family. So I wish him the best of luck, and I think it's going to be really great to see him play again. And I think as well, you know, Keisha's had a lot of time to not be in the game, so I think you know, it's been several seasons. So he's probably reflected quite a lot and maybe thought of a different style of gameplay this time. So, because I think last time he played both times, he was an extremely honest player. So maybe this time he'll maybe lie a little bit more and maybe backstab to maybe just get to the end and get that prize. Because at the end of the day, it would really be legendary to see Keisha win. And I honestly wish him the best of luck and hope he does great in this game. Anybody want cake? It's Keisha from Big Brother 10. A lot of people love Keisha. She's definitely a fan favourite, and she actually made it far in the game. She came 4th place and is definitely remembered for her birthday incident, but also she's remembered for her close relationship with Memphis, who was supposed to be playing on this season as well. So they are definitely going to be a duo this season. Not a duo twist, but you know, they'll definitely be working together. And as a result, they will have a huge target on their back for two people who actually made it far in the game as well. Memphis coming 2nd and Keisha coming 4th. Definitely a massive target there. So I'm excited to see how she does this time around. Obviously, it's been a few years since Keisha's played, so she's a bit older, similar to some of the old school house guests, so she may not have that big of a target. And as well, when we think of the old school players, I'd say someone like Janelle and Daniel Donato are more likely to be threats over someone like Keisha. So I do think Keisha could make it far in the game. I think nobody's really going to be targeting her in the first couple of weeks. I'm just really, I've got my fingers crossed that the old school people aren't going to turn on each other, because I am really rooting for the old school folk. And if Keisha can get out the gate, and I'm pretty sure she will, because nobody's going to really be targeting her when there's other bigger threats there, I think she could make a real dent on the game. She's got a good social game. She can make good connections with people, and with Memphis as well. If they're working together for a final 2 deal, you know, they're going to be really looking out for each other, and I think Memphis can probably maybe win a couple of comps here and there to save her, and even Keisha did actually win a few comps, so she can win some comps there as well to save Memphis, and vice versa. It works that way, and I'm sure Keisha will be able to make alliances with other people there. I think she'll definitely be involved in some sort of old school alliance. But the crazy thing is, I mean, Keisha wasn't even rumoured until a few days ago, and it came out of nowhere, and I think a lot of people were shocked that she wasn't actually on the initial cast, so I think people are elated to see Keisha coming back. And you know, I hope she does well, and I think she will. So best of luck to Keisha, and yeah, I think she's going to do great. Now here is a rogue house guest, folks. We have Kevin Campbell from Big Brother 11, who is definitely someone that you could consider quite unforgettable, but to others he's very memorable. So he's one of those where you sort of split one way or the other. He came third place, and yeah, he's definitely remembered for entertainment value, if you can remember him, that is. But I'm excited to see him play. You know, any old school person I'm welcome to see come back, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what his game is going to be like this time round. Because for me, it's just really, really exciting to sort of see the players who haven't played in a long time and see how their game has adapted and also how they've adapted as people as well. I think Kevin's got the potential to make it far. He seems like a very likeable bloke. I think he could mix very, very well with people and make some great social connections. That's going to make him help him make it far in the game. And also, nobody's really going to be targeting Kevin because half of them probably won't remember him or know him, and the people who do probably won't even see him as a threat. So Kevin is either... He could be the floater of the season. I hope he's not. I'm hoping that in an all-star season there isn't going to be any floaters. But saying that, I mean, the floater strategy is a brilliant strategy, but it's just not the most entertaining to watch. As long as there's no coasters, I'm happy with that. And I think Kevin could make it far in the game. Whether or not people will... he could be the one who makes it to the end and people are like, oh, he's just made it to the end by doing nothing. He could be that sort of house guest. However, I don't really see him going out early anytime soon, so I do think he's going to make it far in the game. And yeah, again, as I say, it's just going to be really, really exciting to see how his game has developed after all these years. So, folks, this season it's not looking like we're getting Dan Giesling, but we are getting the runner-up of Dan Giesling's season. It's Memphis, who I discussed briefly with Keisha earlier on. So Memphis is coming back, and he's definitely got a point to prove. Memphis was the first house guest in Big Brother US history to lose by a unanimous vote in the jury stage. And he's definitely, because he sort of lost in Dan's shadow, I think he's definitely wanting to return and prove to America that he's got what it takes to win the game and he can make it far. And you know as well, he actually won about 3 Power of Veto competitions, so he can definitely win comps. And I don't think there's anything stopping him making it far in this game this time round. I think he can definitely make some good connections. However, with that runner-up sort of target on his back, I don't know if he's going to make it super far. I think if he can, again, I know I keep saying it, but if he can get out the gate, he could make it far. Out of the runners-up, obviously, I think Tyler is probably the person people are going to target the most. Probably followed by Cody and then Memphis. So I think out of the runners-up, Memphis is definitely the person to watch out for, because Memphis doesn't have that massive target on his back compared to the other two. He does have a target, but probably just not as big as Cody and Tyler. And as well, he's definitely out for that redemption arc. Like Big Brother said, everyone this season has got something to prove, and his point to prove is that he can actually win the game and and actually get some jury votes at the end. So best of luck to Memphis. I think it's great to see another old school member come back. He'll definitely be working with Keisha. Although I do believe he actually voted to evict Keisha, but they did have a close relationship in the game, so I think maybe, times have changed. It might just be water under the bridge, and I think Keisha and Memphis will definitely work together, and I don't think there's anything stopping Memphis from making it far in the game this time round. Time to discuss the first of 2 Nicoles now, and this is definitely the favoured Nicole currently in the social media world, and it's Nicole Anthony. Now, Nicole Anthony has definitely been doing a great job as to making everyone think that she's not in sequester. She's continually been making posts, social posts that sound exactly like her, as are a lot of the other house guests, but Nicole is going above and beyond. Potentially, she might have a phone with her in sequester. I did hear some rumours that some of them are allowed to keep their phone. It does seem a bit random, but maybe she's got someone monitoring her, what she does, because I know she does some live broadcasts on the TV Core app. So, that's a commitment that she's got there. So maybe she's got someone watching her. She does that to ensure that she doesn't go on social media or anything like that. And, she's getting someone else to do her social posts. But she sent fans into frenzy the other day when she announced that she had some sort of ending speculation announcement. And then the day after, she announced her mother's secret potato salad recipe instead of anything Big Brother related, which is quite funny, actually. So, I give her respect for that. And I do think she could make it far in the game again. America loves Nicole Anthony. She obviously did win America's Favourite House Guest, so similar to what I was saying about a couple of the other house guests, if there is some sort of twist up for grabs or some sort of power, she definitely stands a good chance of America voting her to get that power, and that'll definitely benefit her in the game. She had an excellent social game, and as well, she did sort of actually win a few comps at the end. She came through, she won those comps, she got a HOH, and I'm pretty sure she actually did win a couple of other comps, but I just always remember that double eviction night HOH that she won, the hockey HOH, and it was just legendary, and it was great. So I'm really, really hoping to see Nicole make it far. As I've said in my previous video, she seems like a really lovely, down-to-earth girl who seems just really, really nice. So I'm really rooting for her, and I hope she does make it far again, and I think she will. Now, Nicole Franzel has been the subject of quite a lot of social media talk over the past few days due to the fact that there's been rumours going around that she went to speak to production and ratted out some pre-gaming of two famous players, Derek and Dan, and then thus getting them kicked off the season. I don't believe that is true. There's no way that CBS would kick off Derek and Dan over something like that, because I think Derek and Dan were probably the ones that CBS wanted the most to be on the cast. So over pre-gaming, I don't think they would have got rid of those guys, because they definitely would have wanted Derek and Dan over some less memorable players. But however, I do believe Nicole probably did say something about pre-gaming, but I just don't think Derek and Dan were kicked off the season because of that. However, let's talk about Nicole's game rather than her scheming there, which also filters into the game. So Nicole Franzel came 7th place in Big Brother 16. She did actually win the Battle Back comp, and then she returned for Big Brother 18, and she came 1st place, and she won by 1 vote. It was 5-4, I believe, on Paul, who is also considered a great player. And that a lot of people are disappointed that Paul's not going to be in the season, but a lot of people are very happy Paul's not going to be in the season. Obviously, Paul lost twice in a row by 1 vote, which was quite excruciating for him. So it doesn't look like he's going to be in this season. So I don't think lightning can strike 3 times. However, with Nicole Franzel, she actually did beat Paul, and obviously, as I said, she came 7th place in BB16 against the likes of Derek. So you know, I think Nicole could actually make it far. She does have that winner target on her back, but I do feel like Ian's probably going to have the bigger target as the winner. So out of the 2 winners, obviously Nicole and Ian, Ian's definitely going to be targeted more so than Nicole Franzel, because with everything that's going on outside in the outside world, I don't think that's going to filter in and get Nicole Franzel kicked out of this game, because people won't know what's going on. It's sequester, so I think you know, a lot of people probably do like Nicole Franzel within the house, and I think Derek has probably worked something, because apparently he did for BB18. I think he's worked a couple of them to work together and got them together, because I don't know if Nicole Franzel and Cody speak that much, but apparently Derek has got Cody and Nicole to work together to both make them further, both of them to make it further in the game. I can definitely see that happening, because Nicole Franzel and Cody were obviously both on BB16 together, so I think that was an alliance waiting to happen anyway. I don't think Derek needed to instigate anything. I think they definitely could have been something there straight away. So I do think Nicole probably will make it far in the game. I don't think she's going to win again. I don't think Ian or Nicole could pull a Sandra off Survivor and be the first 2-time winner of the show. I just think the odds are heavily stacked against them. However, I do believe Nicole could actually make it far. And, you know, she has won a couple of comps in her time, and she's won the game before, which proves she's a great player. And I don't think there's anything stopping her making it far. I just don't think she's going to win again. Tyler Crispin is a house guest who has been heavily rumoured for this season and has been on the cast list. And obviously, I think a lot of people believed if there was ever going to be another All-Star season, a lot of people thought that Tyler must be in the cast, and it looks like he is going to be. There was rumours initially that himself and Angela would be in together, and then the Angela rumours dissipated, and it looks like it's just going to be Tyler now returning to the game with a massive, gigantic, huge target on his back. Now, Tyler is considered one of the greatest modern-day strategic masterminds of Big Brother, and as a result, that huge target's going to be on his back. As I've discussed with previous runners-up that are in this cast, with Memphis and Cody, I think out of the runners-up, Memphis, Cody and Tyler is going to have that biggest target on his back, because a lot of people believe that Tyler was robbed and deserved the win against Casey. Casey obviously did play a great game, but Casey isn't going to be in this season. So I think that Tyler was probably going into this season believing that Casey was going to be there, and probably a couple of other people from Big Brother 20 being there. But it doesn't look like that's the case anymore, with Casey likely testing positive for COVID-19. She's out the cast, so Tyler is it looks to be on his own this time round. I do think he could be working with Bailey, as I discussed at the very beginning of this video. So you know, that could be something that'll help him make it far. But there's no way that people are going to target Bailey over Tyler, because Tyler is definitely seen as the bigger threat. If you let Tyler get out the gate and let him make a dent in the game for the first couple of weeks, Tyler will steamroll and he will make it far. He's just like any other player. He's obviously not as, I wouldn't say he's as great as the likes of Dr. Will, but he's definitely got potential if he can just make it a couple of weeks into the game. There's nothing stopping Tyler from taking the win, and I do heavily believe that Tyler could actually be the winner of Big Brother 22. Even though he's got this huge target on his back, he would probably be a very fitting winner. I mean, when I watched Big Brother 20 the first time round, I wasn't rooting for Tyler, but after the game, I always look back and reflect and go, you know, Tyler actually did play a fantastic game, and you can't discredit him for that. So I do think he could make it far, and I do think he could take the win this time round. that is it from me today, folks. I do have a couple updates, so stay tuned. I now have a Patreon, so if you would like to become a patron of TV Talks with Tom, hit the link below. That is in the description. It would be fantastic if you could all come along, and you're all welcome aboard. So I'd appreciate any support that you guys can give me. The support so far with my YouTube channel has been overwhelming. And I'm just so happy that I've finally been able to open a Patreon to those of you who would like to support. Also, obviously the premiere is on Wednesday night, which is so exciting for Big Brother 22. We've waited so long, and I can announce I will be going live after the premiere at 11 PM Eastern time to discuss the premiere. I'll be breaking down everything. It's like a post-episode chat show, so come along to the live then, folks. We'll be discussing everything that happened in the episode, and I can't wait to discuss it with you all. It's been great fun doing live so far, and Wednesday night is definitely going to be no different. I can't wait for that. It's probably going to be the best live so far, so stay tuned for that, and definitely come along if you'd like to chat with me after the show. But besides that, folks, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and also don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that stuff. I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.